Hey, welcome.
Hey.
We're here live
Yep.
at the Craft House up in Chesterton.
That's right.
All right.
Right.
Anybody that's watching, tell us how the sound is. It's a little bit loud here. We got a directional mic that's supposedly helping.
Yep.
And we are connected to the correct mic this time. So
Yes.
we can say
Yes.
it's working.
That's
Check.
right.
Check. So yes.
Check. So anyway, we have
Yeah, we should be good.
Minutes
We should be
to let
good.
people,
And,
Yeah, it's
let
hopping
people
down here.
catch the notice that we're live. And
Right.
No, but it's definitely hopping down here.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of people down here.
Food's
Apparently we are. Food is phenomenal, isn't it? Good. Great food here. Great food.
Wow.
Great beer list. I guess we're being brought to you today by Greenbush Brewing, right out of Sawyer, Michigan. I just realized that we are. So.
Also by Yingling and Oktoberfest.
Yes,
now.
exactly. Yeah, there it is in the corner. I see it now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yes. We may need to blur that out. Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. They may not like this. So. But
don't know.
no. Yeah.
It's on the wall at a restaurant.
It's, yes. Exactly.
Bar.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
getting.
They're literally asking to be publicly displayed.
That's
Yes,
right.
That's right.
Congratulations. They're being publicly displayed.
That's right.
Significant.
But so is the Craft House, which has been fantastic to let us come in.
Yep.
And host today. We are CCSK Law. We have me, Isaac Carr, along with Kurt and Matt.
Yep. I do it.
What's
Matt
up?
Dooley, Kurt Kazmazak,
I'm Kurt.
Matt
He's
Dooley.
Matt.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
get that
there
straight.
we go.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
I'm the pretty
RG
one.
is
Yeah,
on.
remember that.
It's really the beard that sets him
Yes.
apart. Yep. He is now the only one in the firm with the beard.
Yes.
Well, you kind of
I
got
did.
to
I got
beard.
stubble.
You got to want to be beard.
I got a stubble
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah, that blue steel. This isn't a beard. I know
But it's
it
going in the
can't
winter. You got to have it going in the winter anyway.
Yeah.
I
Might
think.
as well.
I think my girlfriend Barbara would disagree with you.
No.
I think that she would strongly disagree. And me,
She needs to get her priorities right.
honestly, it's whatever's easiest in the morning when I'm just trying to get out of bed, and
Stubble's it.
Yeah.
stubble tends to be all right.
You just let it go until she bitches about it too much, and then you go ahead and shave it off.
Well, I try to keep. I don't go to homeless, right? You know,
Right.
there's a chart of beards that goes from clean shaven, and it's from attractiveness to ugly, right? So it's like clean shaven, you didn't shave today, blue steel stubble, homeless patchy, back to like the fine beard, back
That's
to
hilarious.
longer beard, down to like Duck Dynasty.
What about ZZ Top? Yeah. Like Duck Dynasty.
ZZ Top,
You know,
Duck
right.
Dynasty, and then it shoots back up for Gandalf.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, then I will tell you though. I mean,
Wow.
speaking of, I remember always hearing stories. And I've got a couple years on you guys from law school, but I remember always hearing stories about crazy
Hey, Heather.
things about like people going to law school. People.
Lindsay joined us too.
Oh, hey,
Awesome.
hey,
How's it
folks.
going, Lindsay?
Again, let us know how we sound right now.
Yes.
We're this loud in here, but we got the
Sound,
snow.
please.
And if you're watching us live, give us a hashtag live. If you're watching on replay later on, please, by all means, give us a hashtag replay. We always like to make sure, figure out our engagement where we're at. So,
So, and we need to try. One of the things we decided Monday was that we have to, the conversations about tips from the bar is that we need to be careful to not talk over each other. It's hard for people to hear us and that kind of thing.
I'm sorry, what?
no, but again,
Exactly.
I want to make sure I want to bring this up. Speaking of like facial hair and stuff,
Yeah.
did you guys ever hear the stories about in like law school about like lawyers would go into like certain people's courtrooms that like oh that guy doesn't like beards, or that guy there's like a high expectation of like short hair on men and stuff like have you heard about? Did you guys ever?
Man.
No.
No.
Maybe okay. Maybe it was just like old wives' tales and stuff like.
Well, like
all
I've heard
those-
of attorneys going in and being disheveled,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
and,
yeah.
and the judge is like, you need to respect this court. You are not dressed for court today. You came in your jeans and such.
And
like,
like you with a beard would not be respectable to the court, is what I'm thinking now. Actually, I think that's where I'm going here.
maybe so.
Maybe stubble, but not a beard.
Right.
A nice manicured beard is good.
Well,
There you
see,
go.
that's just it. The nice manicured beard.
Right.
The blue steel one.
There you go.
You're just saying blue steel because I got dark hair with white in it, so it looks that bluish tint. It's
That's
not.
I'm trying to be nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Nice. But
We got a couple comments.
yeah. Hey.
Live and clear sounds good. Well, on her phone. it
Oh,
sounds
nice.
good.
Nice.
Oh, well, that's
great.
good.
And Barbara says that her love and his friends is here.
What?
Her love
Said,
and his
my love and
friends.
his friends.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm her love.
Okay.
and
good.
you're my friend.
I was about to say.
I'm
to
going
clarify.
That's,
I'm like,
hold up. What?
Yeah. So, anyways, though,
This
yes.
would be assault.
Yeah.
The threat of impending damage, bodily damage.
That's right.
No, but
Yeah.
I was just also thinking about like when it comes to actually giving out a good tip. Actually, let's give a tip from the bar today.
Tip from the bar.
there's a lot of people, as everybody knows, a lot of people know my background is in real estate and whatnot, and I've been involved in lots of real estate transactions in my lifetime. And many people know that, like, in Indiana, we're not like an attorney-driven state by no means. We're not like, Illinois has a lot more active bar, I guess you'd probably say, that gets themselves involved in real estate
to
transactions.
close on a house in Illinois, you need an attorney.
Well, there are certain areas. I mean, once you get outside Cook County, once you get outside Will, other areas of it gets a little bit more relaxed. So,
But isn't that because everybody needs to make sure they get their cut?
okay, well there we go. Well, I'm not saying. Well, we have
That is
friends.
not the tip.
I have friends in Cook County, a part of the Illinois bar. So for the record, I have not.
Sorry, I do not know what I speak of.
Yes, exactly. All right.
I've never
Anyways,
worked in Illinois, so I don't know. Well,
again, but going back to that, what I would just say is be cautious and conscientious if you are involved, even in a residential transaction. I mean, there is a lot of opportunity for things to go awry and things that kind of go sideways a lot of times. And, it always doesn't earn me the best likes and comments sometimes when I talk about the need for an attorney in a residential real estate transaction. Yeah. But I mean, we just had a case recently very similar. It's a complex matter to where the title company is going to have specific exclusions and specific things that always go in there to benefit the insurer, the title insurance company. The real estate agent has specific language usually in their listing agreements and or their buyer agreements that's going to be there to protect them too as well. Mm-hmm. And as you go down a path, and if something were to occur, specifically something were to occur in the past, it's always good knowing that you had counsel involved in the transaction, because some things can be caught. Am I right? I mean,
well, let me say, I'll throw this tip out there. All contracts are negotiable.
Sure.
All contracts. The insurance policy that you have, when you sign that thing, you're entering into a contract with the insurance company to cover you for if these things happen, right? So all contracts, you can. Now, some of them are going to be more difficult to negotiate than others, such as, if you buy a Microsoft computer or a Microsoft Office, they're going to come up with terms and service. Good luck negotiating with them. It's
right. I mean,
unless you're a really big company that has a lot of weight and say, hey, Amazon comes up and says, we want to exclusively use Microsoft, but you got to edit some of these terms.
Yeah.
Maybe Microsoft will consider
they
that.
Might consider it. Yes.
Right?
They
might consider that.
Yeah.
But normally, but a lot of circumstances, contracts are negotiable, especially when, but it happens a lot when people aren't thinking about it. Because if the title company comes, you're thinking, well, the title company, I'm paying for this to happen.
I have insurance.
I have insurance, right? I'm paying for a title search, right?
Yeah.
But if you actually read the fine print written by a lawyer to cover the insurance company, it has exclusions. Exclusions such as covenants, restrictions, and even sometimes easements.
Easements, yep.
On your property, which are publicly recorded down at the recorder's office, so you don't have to go down there and check what's been in there, even though you can check online in some counties as well. Porter County, you can.
Porter County. Support.
You're trusting the title company to go down there and do this title search to tell you what liens or interests there are on the property, such as easements or covenants, one big covenant being a homeowners association. This was a situation that Matt's kind of...
Go ahead, yeah, that'd be great. Right? Go into it, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll definitely discuss this a little bit.
Most people don't, Lindsay. She said she doesn't even read them, and I said most people don't.
Yeah. It's a stack of thick documents. Yeah. You go to let's set the tone. Let's set the tone. So what's going to happen here is this, especially in a residential real estate transaction.
Pile
of documents that's all. And they're going to tell you before you even enter the room. You're about to sign your name so many times you're going to be sick and tired of signing your name, right? That's what they're going to tell you in the middle of that, right before you even begin. So you have all those documents stacked up. And unfortunately, there's generally speaking nobody there, if you're not having counsel represent you, reading those documents for you, or at least especially in the title insurance policy itself, what they're going to cover, what they're not going to cover, what are some of the things that they're excluding from the policy. Yep. Are there any specific endorsements on that policy? There's nothing there. But again, you walk into a room, and it's a familiarity issue too as well. You're going to see, oh, there's the other agent with the other people. Here's my agent. Oh, my agent's happy to see me. Sometimes your lender's there. It's usually a happy celebration too. So now all of a sudden we have positive energy. We have this emotion going on. We're all thinking about all this great stuff. And then guess what happens? Later on, you might come to find out there was something in those documents that were not in the best interest for you.
Well, and let's be clear about how the documents are going through. First page. this form says this, sign there. This form says this, sign.
And
There's
fair,
no time to go through and read everything. They're not going to let you go through and read everything.
And fair enough, because I will agree with you that that's what occurs. But remember too as well, those closers and title personnel, as well as those real estate agents, are not licensed attorneys. They don't have
Absolutely
the
not.
ability.
That's why it's important.
Yeah, we
To have
have
somebody that's going to look out for your interest and say, because I mean, I think the question, and I'm going to put this out to you guys. The question is, well, I've hired this realtor to be my agent and to look out for my interests. Why aren't they?
The problem too as well is remember this. I love the word that you use, my agent. See, it's sometimes a misnomer, and I know I've talked about this before with a lot of people in the past, but when we use the word agent, we always think of like, oh, my agent in fact, or my attorney. You think of like things like that. What I always try to remind people is that real estate agents are salespeople. They are marketing agents. They market your property to get your. They market you a better property.
Yep.
They're not an attorney in fact by no means or something like that.
Right.
They're not representing you in that capacity. Now, I will say to you that right, wrong, or indifferent, we tend to muck things up a little bit when we get involved. We tend to get. I mean, your closing will not be as smooth per se from a title company's perspective.
Right.
When you have us doing what's called a marked up copy, we're sitting there and scratching out things, initialing things, and saying, no, we're not agreeing to this. We're not.
That's
agreeing
not
to
a bad thing, though.
But it's not a bad thing because we are there for the benefit of one person and one person only, the buyer and or the seller, depending on who you represent.
Yeah, because I hate to break it to you, that the insurance company that wrote the policy is not there for you.
No,
they did not write that policy with you in mind, saying we're going to give the buyer the benefit of the doubt with this.
Right.
Right.
I mean, wait, insurance companies aren't there for the benefit of. I mean, we could do a whole session on that.
We could do a whole thing.
Whether it's, I don't care what type of insurance.
I'm a fan of insurance, right? I'm insurance licensed.
Yes,
so
am I.
Right?
Yeah,
you've had experience.
Most of us are.
Yeah, we've actually all.
But here's the point to come to on that is that it's not bad. They're not going against you in the sense of they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to say, look, we're going to cover this one little spot. And we're going to erase all this stuff over here so you can't come back and sue us when something goes wrong. And where you might have an interest saying, well, I need something out here to be looked at. Right. That's where we come involved.
Right. That's true. That's a better way for it.
The title company has to write a broader insurance policy because they're knocking out all of these closings, and they can't sit there and go on a case-by-case basis with everything.
Oh, yeah. Specific endorsements, specific exclusions. And that's
a responsibility of you to then bring in somebody who says, hey, I'm worried about this thing. Can you check this out?
Sure.
Real estate law is complex. There are so many things that can go wrong before, during, and after you buy a property that they have to be broad. They have to paint these broad strokes to try to cover their rear. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the ability to provide the service they do provide. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go in selectively and say, well, I really want this covered, not that. You need to change this. That's where we come, because you can go ahead and do that. But their general deal that they do for 99% of the people out there is that broad stroke.
And again, I think that's a great point you said. Real estate law is complex. Unlike the other areas of law where you get to, I'm not saying other areas aren't complex either, but what I will say is this. When it comes to real estate, there are things that get interwoven like finance, insurance, bankruptcy, probate, other stuff that you have to have a pretty good municipal law as far as municipal ordinance. There are so many other things that get interwoven into what we call real estate law.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have to have a general understanding of a lot of other areas of law to be a business. I mean, contracts. I mean, there's so much other stuff than just saying, hey, I specialize in contract law, right? Or I'm a contract law attorney. So, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with people who do that. It's just when you're talking about the complexity, maybe I don't know.
Hold on.
But no, that's why it was a great fit. Again, as everyone knows, probably it's my second time in Tips in the Bar. I just joined. It was a great fit for me to kind of come in with you guys because you guys already do a fair amount of real estate work, and you guys have that business, contracts, probate, bankruptcy. We cover all those areas within the firm, And so for us, it just made sense for me to come on board and kind of like let's pull this all kind of together, and we're able to provide our clients some simplicity. CCSK Law, simplified. Some simplicity, right? When you're in a complex real estate transaction, right? So
So
Going back, yes.
That
We set the tone. We set the tone. Yeah.
Now you understand. You're sitting there. Maybe if you've bought the home or sold a home, you've been at that table, or if you haven't yet, you now understand. You're sitting here at the table. You have a title agent, maybe some other, your agent or lender, and
the stack.
They got the stack. They
Yes.
got the stack of paper, and they're feeding you this paper, right? One of those pieces of paper are what we talked about in terms of the title insurance policy, and that lists out those exclusions, including covenants or easements, even. But there's a big covenant that's called an HOA, a homeowners association. Sometimes a property owners association, right?
Yes.
Or if you're in a condo owners association.
Sure.
Which Indiana does treat those two things differently, so you got to know the differences between them.
Yes.
But those pieces of paper being put in front of you, and as we talked about, there's broad strokes in there that are saying that these HOAs are not considering this. So, situation is that there is someone who bought a home a couple years ago, and then out of nowhere, the neighbors all say, "Hey, we're going to start up this HOA." And this person's like, "What do you mean? I'm not part of this HOA, right?" And if you look at a map of the property, right, you have this subdivision with the the normal winding roads going around with all the houses lined up, and then they're next to that property, but they're not part of that winding road division. They're like, "Why am I getting wrapped into this? Where did this even come from?" If you look at the public records which were filed, the covenants were actually filed against that property. It's just saying that there could be an HOA launched at some point, but it had not been launched. Now, you would think that the title company would say, "Hey, by the way, an HOA might come up at some point," but but the title company had in their exclusions, this isn't part of that.
Well, like you said, most title companies' standard exclusions will have covenants, easements, restrictions. I mean, it'll have that in there as specific exclude. They're not going to cover that because there's so much,
But that's not common sense for a lot of people. A lot of people thinking, well, that's why I ran the title search, to figure out what kind of things might affect this title in the future.
Sure.
What things might be filed publicly against what we do. But I'll tell you, everyone can get access to that information. I mean, there's a couple programs that I use. Laredo, Tapestry. You can literally walk down to the county building.
Yeah.
And you get a list of everything that's been filed against that property. And then you can even pull up that record and see what the copies of those filings were. Prior mortgages, easements.
What you're referencing is, and I've actually been involved in litigation in the past with that. We're talking about specifically the overall, what they call the chain of title, right?
Right.
I don't know if Iowa, certain places still that maybe not have very specific title insurance law yet,
right,
will have attorneys that use their malpractice rider to give coverage using a chain of title itself. But again, the chain of title is not a insurable document. It's not. Like, you can't say, "Hey, I want to see that title search. I want to see specifically that mortgage, that whatever from the past." And I've actually been involved in litigation where people want to try to bring that in, make that admissible, make that the insurable document. It's not. Yeah. What's the insurable document? That final commitment that they give you at the title table, at the closing table, at the title company.
Title commitment paper that you signed. That's the contract.
So again, that in the case we're talking about today, with the HOA and the one-off property, that right there may have not come up in the actual chain of title. Still may not have. The original covenants, I can guarantee you this, would have said, "Okay, here's the covenants. Here's what was in here's where we haven't had to develop the property, subdivided the property." In fact, I think that's what's key. Another great tip would be, when you're looking at real estate in general, when you see that one of the parcels that is attached, we'll say, like, to the county road, but is not, like, your driveway doesn't touch the entrance to the subdivision, or doesn't touch a side road or any other access point.
Touches the line of the other
but the property touches the line on the other side of the property. In other words, your driveway actually touches the county road or the city road itself. That's where we tend to find these problems most of the time, because what happened was, at the time of development, when the developer took the big parcel, a lot of times too as well, that is the original house or the original parcel that was already zoned there. So he sits back and says, "Okay, this is already, I'm not going to touch this parcel. What I'll do, though, is I'll build the subdivision around the whole other thing." Yeah. But in order to get it zoned, or in order to get it developed or approved by the county, sometimes what ends up happening is they pull that other property in. That other property sometimes still gets classified as blah, 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 as addition to the first subdivision of X property subdivision or something, right?
You're talking about the legal description, if you ever see
There
the
you go.
long legal description of a property.
That's a good explanation.
Right? Because you have your common address, 123
So
South
you actually know
Valparaiso
how to
Street.
get there.
Right. So actually got that's what
Right.
Google looks at.
Right.
But then there's a legal description, which is the long legal description that you see on what's called like a deed,
Sure.
right, for the property.
And it's an entitled commitment too. It's always
And
entitled. It's always an
definitely
entitled
those,
commitment too.
those
As well.
got to match. Yep.
So again, that's where you see this come up most of the time.
Right.
Is with these situations like that. 'Cause you always get that one parcel that was like either the original landowner or Old Man Peabody's owned all the land. Oh, sorry, it's my Back to the Future reference. But again, there was a courthouse or clock. No, it was a clock tower.
There was a
That's
clock tower.
Well, there's a courthouse
I
there.
guess that there was a courthouse. with
That's
a clock
probably
tower.
a
It could have been
courthouse.
City Hall,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah.
City
It
Hours.
was a school, I thought. It was a
No.
clock
With the
tower.
clock tower on it?
no, clock towers in school.
If you know,
If you know, actually,
if you know.
was there
Let
a
us know,
courthouse
trivia.
in the clock tower in Back to the Future?
Yeah, that's right.
actually
We
what
need
we're
to
at.
we need to know.
We need to know that. Yeah, exactly.
Did
So-
She's just saying you're the best teacher, so I didn't comment on it.
what? You should have commented on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should have a thorough discussion. Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
But again, I think this was.
it's time to go.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a good, actually, point of reference today to because I don't think a lot of people realize, especially too as well, guys. We're coming up with tax sale season too.
Let's clarify this. You might be thinking, I don't care about an HOA. Great, then it wouldn't apply to you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
If an HOA pops up and you're like, okay, that's fine, then you're set to go. But that's why it helps to have an attorney look over it to say what's important to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you say, look, I'm buying this place specifically because I can't stand HOAs and I don't want an HOA to tell me what to do with my property.
Yep.
Then an attorney can look and say, well, what is the possibility of an HOA here?
Right.
Yeah,
That's a great.
100%.
Yeah.
And what happens?
And it doesn't have to cost $1 million.
Oh,
So
right.
your realtor's probably going to cost you more.
I can pull all that list up of the stuff on your property. It's like $6.25, I think.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I
it's
can kind
fairly
of just
appraised.
look at what has been. I can't look at all the
So-
individual documents; those cost extra to pull.
So with
them
your
up,
fees
but-
about $6.50,
Maybe.
is that what it is?
So yeah,
About $6.50.
$6.50.
Exactly,
No. But no,
Because
yeah,
there's
free
gonna be
consultations.
the attorney fees, but you're
But
gonna
again,
have
it's
this stuff on-
way more reasonable than you think, and
right. It's
you
not
know,
something that's going to be like it's not going to be so much that it's going to be ridiculous. Most of the time, it's going to be less than your freaking appraisal.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. But let me throw this out there: what happens if you're an agent, a realtor, a broker, somebody who has questions
Yes, please, thank you.
about? Well, wait, how does this affect me?
right.
Right? Who's somebody that they could come talk to get answers about the best way for them? Oh, I'm doing all right. Thanks. For them to actually do what they do.
Oh,
Matt,
yes.
that's something you could help with.
Yes, it is. It is actually. Yeah. I mean, again, that's we get ourselves. In fact, we've been getting several referrals in from different real estate agents and brokerages and whatnot because of that exact reason. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to put yourself in a position as the expert and the authority in what you do. If you are marketing and selling real estate, you do not want to put yourself in the position of where you maybe accidentally perhaps have said something that could be construed as legal advice.
Right.
You want to be able to say, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question. And rather than speculate on it, what I can tell you is this. You should contact legal representation. Now, a lot of people have this thing that occurs in sales where we want to keep demonstrating value, keep giving and giving and giving. So that way, guess what happens? They refer to other people. But that can become very dangerous if you start to go down the path of blurring the line between basic real estate knowledge that you're licensed to talk about based upon your real estate license or maybe your mortgage license or whatnot.
Yep.
Title license too as well. Title insurance people, that them as closers and agents and whatnot, they only have so much authority what they can say about those documents.
Yep.
But when someone sits back and says, "Hey, I don't know this answer. What should I do?" Give us a call. Let us know. We'll work something out with them. I mean, we want to make sure, because again, too as well, this also avoids them calling us in the future and saying, "Hey, do I need to sue my real estate agent now?"
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
You want to protect your insurance, your license, make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to as an agent, a real estate agent.
Sure.
And
This
look,
is
it boils down to know your client, know your customer. If you know they've got a particular issue with HOAs or they can't stand easements, or they don't want anybody touching their property. They don't want this that. They've got specific hot buttons that aren't an issue. It might not be a bad idea to give Isaac a call and say, hey, or Matt a call and say, hey, what's the possibility of this here? Is this something that I should be worried about? Can we take a look real quick just to double check?
Yep. This is probably a big one that comes up for a lot of realtors. Changing the purchase agreement, right? So there's a standardized form that all realtors use when they're that Indiana provides. It's for filling out for purchasing.
And drafted by. Let's make sure it's clear too. People don't understand. Those are drafted by attorneys of the state. The state licensing board. They hire. They do that. So
they hire attorneys to draft that up. As a real estate agent, if you're going in there marking things out and writing new things in, you're practicing law. You are now drafting a contract for someone, and drafting a contract for someone else. That's the practice of law, which means you're stepping into a realm that your insurance isn't going to be happy about at all.
But Isaac, what happens what if I don't touch the contract, but I do the amendment document and type out 17 different things in the amendment to the purchase agreement?
Oh, this amendment that's incorporated into the main contract.
Oh,
yeah. This amendment that it becomes part of the contract that you're editing.
Yes.
On that, if it doesn't match one of the blanks that you're permitted to fill in, then that amendment is the same thing as you crossing out and writing it in new.
Exactly.
Right. There are specific blanks within that form that you can fill in. Those are the blanks that you can fill in.
Right.
If it's outside of that blank, I don't care whether it's an amendment or you're literally scratching out and writing on that contract and putting the little initials. That's the same thing as practicing law.
The amendment form for realtors is about extra space.
Sure.
To add things in. It's like, I don't have enough room to get this in. I need to do the amendment to add this in.
Sure.
Right.
So it's
But people get very creative with some of the things that they do regarding possession. That was one of the biggest things that I always see with agents. They would take that to the next level. They would go, because the problem is that they give you a document that says amendment to purchase agreement, and it's literally just open blank. It's just an open page. It's got lines, and you can put whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
I mean, and so again, guys, if you're out there, if you have questions, that kind of stuff at all, please feel free to reach out to us. Refer us to anybody else that you know to as well, looking for that type of work too.
This whole thing goes to actually something where it sounds like we are, bashing on insurance and bashing on real realtors, but
no,
we are a firm believer in a collection of professional services
Absolutely.
helping you with your. We want your insurance involved. We want to be talking with your realtor. We want to be talking with your accountant. That makes sense to come in there. Your
mortgage company if that's
your
needed.
Mortgage company,
absolutely.
There's your banker, or mortgage company, depending on whether it's private or actually banker. Who's lending your money? We want this group of professionals. We all want to be literally on the same page.
Right.
And by literally, I mean on the page. I mean that stack of documents
exactly.
should be everyone is consented to and something you understand. And so that's where we're coming into place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't know if anyone else have anything to go on this week. I don't know.
I think we're about at the end of our time. Anyway,
I think so.
That was a good little shout out there today, guys.
Yeah,
definitely. If you have any questions, you can call us at 219
230
3600.
I always want to say 3600. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
219-230-3600. I was going to try to do a little change. It didn't work.
I was too busy thinking about the fact of our corporate sponsors apparently today.
Sponsors,
exactly.
right.
I want to make sure I give our shout outs apparently.
But we are actually here at Craft House today up in Chesterton.
Yes, we are. We're not in PA. We're not in PA at Yingling, and we're not up in Michigan.
No, we're not with Yingling.
But we are at Craft House. Great establishment here in Chesterton. Great food, great drinks. It's been awesome.
Fantastic.
It's been great. And we are CCSK Law.
That's right.
Again,
check us out at CCSKLaw.com.
Yep. That's right. Feel free to call, email. Feel free to ask questions on here on Facebook, as long as it's not too specific. Don't get too specific, writing a long book on, but you can either message us and we'll send you an email, or preferably, give us a call or go online.
If you're looking for a specific question, call.
Sure.
That's the best way.
Or send an email.
We do free consultations.
Right.
So just reach out to us.
Exactly.
But
awesome.
Anyway,
thanks for joining us.
Good seeing you.
Look for us next week.
Someone just threw a like in there, so we want to get that extra like in there. So
there you go.
there you go. Okay, now we can go ahead.
Now we go.
We'll
Thanks
see you
for
next
Wi-Fi.
week.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.